Tomorrow was the day when Jungkook was about to take down Liam, and after that he had to let Vine go back to her family, which he didn't want it. Jungkook was standing at the backyard. Vine's questions were roaming inside his mind. That if he had decided no matter what happens, he will still let her go, then why he is keeping her here? But deep inside, Vine and Jungkook both were familiar with the answer that he was in love with her, and that love was keeping her here in front of him. Jungkook was lost in his thoughts when he felt a hand on his shoulder. He knew it was Jin. Jungkook, it's late, Hang. Why didn't you sleep yet? Jungkook said without turning back, and then Jin came in front of him and said, well, I can ask you the same. Why didn't you sleep? Or is it that someone's thought are not letting you sleep? Jungkook turned towards Jin and looked at him, and Jin saw that sadness and got his answer clearly by looking in his dark brown. Why are you doing this to yourself, Jungkook? You lost your family, and in this name of revenge, you got Vine. And now, when you know your feelings towards her, you are ignoring it all. Why, Jungkook? Because I can't. I can't keep her here with me. Knowing the fact that I was the one who kidnapped her, then hurt her again and again. She was saying that she is innocent, but I was blinded by revenge. I don't know why, but why God is playing with me. First, he took my family, and now when I got another one, he is all ready to take that away from me. But at the end of the day, I won't be able to stop her. I wasn't able to save my family, and now I will let her go by my own. Jin saw the wetness in Jungkook's eyes. He knew he was controlling. Little did they knew that Vine was standing behind them, listening to each and every single word which she left from Jungkook's mouth. She heard everything from starting how he's feeling and how he is willing to let her go. Vine came inside the living room having teary eyes and sadness in her face. She herself didn't know why she was that much sad by listening to what Jungkook said. What was going inside her mind, what she wanted. Was she ready to go from here or she wanted to stay? Vine heard the footsteps coming from backyard. She didn't wanted them to see her, so she went inside her room, taking long and steady steps. And just then, both Jen and Jungkook came inside the living room. Jungkook looked at Vine's room and saw the door closed. Just then, he heard towards Jen and said, "I'm going inside the room to rest. Tomorrow we will go together to get that Liam." Jen nodded, and then they both left from there. In the blink of an eye, the next day came. It was the day when Vine had to go, leaving Jungkook behind. Both Jungkook and Vine never saw each other, or more specifically, both were ignoring each other. Both were lost in their thoughts. They were struggling to make up their mind. And soon, just like that, all day was passed, and the time came when Jungkook had to go to take place to finish that revenge from Lee. Jungkook was standing with Jin. Everything is ready, Jungkook. Kim is already present on his position. Now it's time we should leave from here. Jungkook nodded and said, "We should go now. It's time to finish what that Liam started." Jin nodded, and just then they were about to leave. When Jungkook heard the door opening sound and he looked at the direction and their van came outside the room, they both looked at each other, making an eye contact. It seems like that they both were taking from their eyes. Jungkook, I will consider it as my good luck that I came to see you before going there. I am happy that I will take my revenge, but somewhere sadness is there by the thought of you going away from me. I don't know what will happen today, but I will let you go. I tried to make up my mind last night and now I'm standing in front of you, but what you did to me, I'm unable to forgive you. But I don't know what is happening to me that deep down I don't want you to let go. They all came outside the base where Jin was already waiting for them. They all took their position so that they can go inside the base. Jin, first we should finish their security and then we will go inside. Kim noted and said, I know every corner of this base. We can go inside from the back door, but first we have to handle the security. Jin noted, but then Jungkook said, change of plan. Kim looked at him, being confused. What? Jungkook looked at Jin and said, I don't want to wait any longer. Just take down this whole base at a time and let that Liam brought in hell over this base. And just as he said, within half an hour, whole base was destroyed. All Jungkook's guards were safe, and Jungkook was watching the destruction of base and as well as Liam while having a satisfying smirk on his face. Kim looked at Jungkook and said, It's done, Jungkook. Liam is finished. Yes, I promised I helped you in taking your revenge, but now it's time for you to fulfill your word. Jungkook and Jin looked at Kim. Both knew that he was talking about Van. Just then, when Jungkook was about to reply, that guard came and said, Everyone is finished and there is no one inside. That guard left, and then Jungkook looked at Kim and said, As I said before, somehow you are also responsible for my family's, but you, as you were unaware. And help me in this. I'm letting go of everything. I will take her to your place in few hours. Saying that, Jungkook and Jin went towards the car and Kim also left the place. His revenge was done and now his another test was getting started. The test which was more difficult than this one. He was a king. It was easy for him to take anyone down, but how he will let his heart down. Mentioned man was moving back and forth. She was nervous and was also worried. It was almost 4 hours were past, but still they didn't came back home, and there was no news of them. She was moving here and there and was continuously looking at the clock on the wall. Every single passing minute was getting difficult, and she was getting worried more and more. Soon after about 1 hour, when she was sitting on the couch, she heard the sounds of car coming from outside. She stood up and looked at the entrance, and soon she saw Jungkook and Jin coming inside the living room. Both boys looked at the girl, and the girl was looking to Jin started moving, but Jungkook took slow steps towards Vine, who was already looking at him. Soon Jungkook stood in front of her. They both were looking at each other without saying anything. Did you, Jungkook? Yes, I did. I took my revenge. But he knew what she was trying to ask. Van looked at Janet, then again looked at Jungkook. So what's next? Van looked in his eyes, finding the answer. Jungkook, get ready. I will take you back to your parents. Saying that, he went towards his room and Vine turned around, looking at him going away. She felt hurt again. Why? She herself didn't know, or she was not ready to accept all this. Van looked at him confused and Jin said, I hope you both won't regret it. The decision you guys are making is not an easy one, and as far as I know, you both will regret it. Jin put one hand on Van's ear and said, stay happy, saying that Jin also left. Van looked at him going away, and she was again left behind all alone. Was that hard for her to understand her feelings, or she already knew but was not accepting the fact? After an hour, Van found herself inside the car with Jungkook. Jungkook was driving the car and Van was sitting beside him. Van saw that Jungkook was taking the longest road to her house, and she knew why he was doing that, to spend more time with her. Van looked at Jungkook and saw him looking at the front while holding the steering wheel tightly. Jungkook looked towards Vine and suddenly Vine looked at the front. Vine decided to break the silence and she said, I was asking God to leave me at my place. Why did you bother? Vine said slowly and calmly, but deep down she was nervous that how he will react. Jungkook looked at the front and said, The one who kidnapped you, that's why I'm taking you back myself. Vine rolled her eyes. She was not that dumb. She knew he wanted that. Both of them went silent, and just like that, Vine's house came. Both came outside the car and stood in front of Vine's house. Both were still struggling. Vine wanted him to ask her, and maybe she would have changed her decision at another side. Jungkook mounted her on his shoulder and drove back to his home because now he was unable to control himself anymore. His emotions were taking over his mind. They both took a step forward and Vine turned towards him before going inside. Vine was finding words to say something, but before that, Jungkook said, I know sorry is not enough, but again, I'm sorry for what happened. I hope that I will never see you again. Vine felt hurt for what he said in last, but next words made her blush unknowingly. Because if I met you again, I will never leave you for the rest of my life. Go and live your life, but remember one thing, the person you will choose will be your first one, and I intend to be your last because no matter what, I will always be there for you. Saying that, Jungkook, who was still looking at Vine, took a step back while looking at her like he was mesmerizing her in his eyes. It was a goodbye from both sides. Jungkook had cleared his heart, but she was still in shock. It was their story. Was the end for both of them or not? Jungkook came back home and found Jin, who was moving back and forth. Jungkook smiled and went towards Jin. Jin looked at him and then looked at the car. He saw no one, and just as he was about to say, Jungkook said, not anymore. Enough. I dropped her at her place. Jungkook sat calmly, having a smile on his face, and Jin knew that he was speaking it out. Jin went towards him and gave him a brotherly hug. As Jungkook was about to say something, his phone rang and Jin saw the caller ID. Skin. Jungkook and Jin looked at each other, being confused, and just then he picked up the call and subscribe for next part.